Hello. So, this is the first of the chapters where we'll be looking at all aspects involving genetics. And before we really dive into this chapter's content, I would like to introduce you to the content of this week. So, there are two types of cell division. And in this chapter, we will be talking all about mitosis. You can consider mitosis as the process how most or nearly all cells in your body divide. If you think about it, there are a lot of cells in our body, and we need to constantly be maintaining the overall number of them. When one dies, it needs to be replaced. Also, if you think about it, we constantly go through, especially when younger, a process of growth. And during this process, we need more of these cells. In addition, if you get hurt, say your skin and the underlying tissues get damaged, we need to repair that tissue. And this is as well where these cells are needed. So all of these cases are examples where we need new cells that are just alike the original cells. And that really is what this chapter is all about. And you can see that I have thrown in a term diploid there as well. It might sound complicated, but all it and the symbol 2N means is that there is a full amount of genetic material in these cells. After all, this is the case in pretty much all cells in the body. There is one exception of these so-called normal cells, which reproduce through mitosis. And this exception is the production of sperm and egg cells. So our sex cells are produced in a manner that is different from anything else, and this process is called meiosis. You do not need to know anything about meiosis at this point. We will talk all about that in our next chapter. You just know that there is something that is unlike how most cells divide. So today is all about mitosis. And really, before we start talking more about it, I want to tell you what I find so amazing about this. And really about human life too. So this is pretty amazing. We all start as one single cell. And that cell is our zygote, which is basically just a fancy word for a fertilized egg cell. So by this stage, both mother's and father's DNA have been brought together to make a brand new, unique individual. And you really do not need to learn the terminology, what I'm using here with this slide. What I am trying to do instead is just to communicate a bigger concept that I think is so fascinating about life. But really, all you are to start with is just a single cell. And then this cell goes through a series of divisions, but really if we are just halving a cell every time in every round, we would end up with really tiny cells. But this is not the case. Instead, these cells grow before they are ready to divide. And this keeps going on until we have more and more cells. And eventually we have enough cells to make up a fetus that then develops. And eventually you are born. But even that is not the end of the story. You keep growing, you become older, a teenager, and then an adult. And by this stage, you are made of trillions of cells. And eventually you become an older person. But really what I think is so cool about this is the fact that all this is from one single cell. And for all this to happen without mistakes, the process of cell division has to be so well controlled, so beautiful, so elegant process. And that to me is a perfect reason why we must take a moment to appreciate it. and why we absolutely must study it in an introductory biology course. I don't know if you can tell, but I spent my honors years both as an undergrad and after that as a postgrad studying embryology. And I hope that even if you were not loving cells or genetics, you will recognize this is quite an amazing achievement, that we make so little mistakes. So really, we must accredit so much of our entire existence to the cellular reproduction. It really is a beautiful and elegant process. And to do this, we need to constantly make new cells to facilitate growth, tissue repair, and just replacing the old cells that have become to the end of their life cycle. Before we really dig into the rest of this chapter, I do want to introduce you to one more concept. Since this is a general biology introductory course, I do think that it is important for us to remember that not all life is like us humans. There are many forms of life that reproduce very differently from us humans. And what I'm showing here is forms of asexual reproduction. For example, many plants, when they want to make a new individual, they just have another one of them budding out from them. So basically it's like, let's make an identical copy of me and just bud it out from the side of me and let it go and live a life on its own. In addition to plants, many hydras do that. We see just one to be ready with making another individual out from itself on this black background. So this is all called asexual reproduction. And here is a fun fact for you. When you dig out one plant of sweet potatoes and they are all coming from the same root, they are all identical of each other. They would be produced asexually. No sperm, no egg cell needed. Pretty cool, huh? And the other option is, of course, sexual reproduction. In this, we mix the genetic material from the mother and the father to generate a unique individual. But we will not be talking about sexual reproduction on this chapter. This is for chapter 9. We are simply interested on what we call normal cell division. Remember to replace old worn-out cells to allow us to grow in size and to facilitate repair of injured tissues. So let's finish here, and next we will look at how the DNA is packed inside the nucleus.